Grieving a child who is still alive is one of the most psychologically complex experiences a parent can go through. And there is actually a name for it. It is called ambiguous loss, which was a term developed by family therapist Pauline Boss. It describes a loss with no clear ending. But there are two types and they affect the brain differently. The first type is physical absence, psychological presence. This is when your child is not physically in your life, but they are constantly present in your mind. You wonder what they're doing, if they're safe, if they think about you, if they miss you, and your attachment system ultimately stays switched on. As parents, our brains are wired to stay connected to our children, and when they're physically absent but still alive, the brain doesn't receive any sort of closure signal. So it literally keeps on searching, it keeps hoping, and it keeps scanning. That's why the grief feels frozen. The second type is the opposite. It is physical presence and psychological absence. This is when someone is physically there, but emotionally or psychologically they are unavailable. It can happen in dementia, severe mental illness, addiction, or even intense relational breakdown. You can see them, you can speak to them, but the relationship you once had is no longer accessible. This creates a lot of confusion and cognitive dissonance, so holding on to two realities at once. In the first type, the pain is driven by uncertainty and hope. In the second type, it is driven by presence and disconnection. Both are destabilizing and hard to cope with. And this is where it differs very much from death. When a child dies, as devastating as that is, there is certainty. The brain can eventually begin to process finality. There are rituals like funerals, and society recognizes the grief. But with ambiguous loss, however, especially physical absence, hope and heartbreak exist at the same time. You might even find yourself thinking, if something actually happened to them, how would I cope? Not because you want that, but because the human brain literally craves resolution. Uncertainty keeps the nervous system in a state of activation, and on top of that, you wonder, are they thinking the same thing? Do they feel this bond too? That's attachment, and attachment doesn't just switch off. Grieving a child who is still alive isn't dramatic, it is not irrational, it's psychological. You're trying to live your life while your attachment system is still turned on, and that is an enormous emotional load.
No one talks about the grief of parenting adult kids. Let's talk about it, y'all. No one talks about how hard it is whenever you've raised a child. You've done everything in your power, send them to some of the best schools, you put them in extra activities, you've raised them in the church, you've done everything in your power to help them become who you thought that they could be. But that didn't happen. The kid has now became an adult, and everything has changed. They've done none of the things that you taught them as a child. So what do? We blame ourselves. We ask ourselves, what could we have done to make this child turn out to be a better adult? Here's the kicker. The kicker is you couldn't have done anything better. You did the best that you possibly could. But what you have to do is you have to learn to continue to love them in their current season. Continue to love them in their current season. Continue to, promote positivity, try to tell them things, and hopefully some of that sticks. But do not blame yourself. Y'all leave me a comment, let me know what you think.